I was looking through the Bible the other day, and I came across a passage that I fell in love with when I first got saved. So 2 Corinthians 5:17 says, "Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. The old is gone, the new has come." And I was really thinking about what this verse really means, and it seems pretty simple to understand, just on the surface, right? The old is gone, the new has come. But that means a lot. Essentially, what happens is we translate from the spiritual realm of death to the spiritual realm of life, from the spiritual realm of darkness to the spiritual realm of light, from dirty to clean. I was really thinking a lot about what this verse really means, and I came up with this really cool illustration. And it's actually a true story. My uncle Bruce, he's about 5'8". He used to weigh like 340 pounds. I hadn't seen him for like a year, and I saw him the first time this year, about 2 months ago, and he weighed 180. And it was amazing to see him. Like, he lost 160 pounds, and it was amazing to see him. And I just couldn't believe it, because essentially he had a new body. Like, all of that old stuff had gone, and it blew me away. So I really feel that when we're thinking about, what happens when, we become a new creation, the old is gone, the new has come. And in that, my Uncle Bruce is like a picture of that. Like, in the material, he's actually a picture of what happens. But the thing that I find really deep is that my Uncle Bruce, when he weighed so much, his knees couldn't handle the weight, and he used to walk with a waddle. And he lost all that weight, and he's essentially a new person now. But he still walks that same way. And I feel that's something mental for him. Like, I think if he tried, he could walk normally. Like, he could do a lot more if he did too. And this is what happens with us when we become new. We tend to just stop and want to walk in the old ways and walk in the same pattern. It doesn't allow us to do the things we want to do. It doesn't allow us to follow God with the fullest of our capabilities. And then we allow God to come in and complete things, because we continue to want to walk in that same fashion, and we don't allow God to transform and change us. I think about Israel and the way they were after they left Egypt. It's funny, like, there was such a crazy pattern and sequence of things that would carry on happening every single time. God would do something amazing, they'd worship God, get bored of that, turn to their own things, fail. God would have to do something miraculous or punish them in some way to tell them, nah, man, you can't do this. And then they come back to him. And then the cycle would happen all over again, and they kept turning to the things of this world. They kept turning to these things because they thought they'd give them instant gratification. And in some cases they did. But they fell sadly short. Israel they're really a mirror image for how we are. They carried on doing things that really, they didn't fulfill them. That's how we are. I think of this wonderful verse in Isaiah, I think it's in chapter 29, where God basically says, they praise me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. And that's just how we are in our society today. We talk so much to God and say, I want to do this for you, I want to do that for you, I want to serve you in this way. God, I wish I could be better. God, I don't want to be in this situation anymore, I want to do this for you. But our hearts are just far from you. And the reason our hearts are far from us is because we don't allow God to come to us. We keep putting layers and layers and layers of the things of the world in front of us, that we separate ourselves from God spiritually, and it causes blindness to it. When I talk about spiritual blindness, I don't mean we don't see God at all. We don't understand who God is at all. No, I mean we deceive ourselves into believing that everything's gravy with our relationship with God. But we become blind in that area of our faith. Because we keep our hearts far from Him. Romans 12 would say, you have to give your body to God as a living sacrifice and not conform to the ways of this world, but instead we need to be transformed by the renewing of our minds in Christ. And what I love about this passage is in the first verse it tells us straight up, you have to be a living sacrifice to God. And he even tells us that this is our spiritual act of worship. It's the reason we were created. You know? Because worship is not just something we do on a Sunday or we do with our youth groups. Worship, it goes so much deeper than that. Worship is your lifestyle. It's how you worship God. And you must sacrifice to do that. But what I love about the second verse is that it tells us how we're supposed to do it. It's not conforming to the ways of the world, keeping our hearts close to God, and allowing Him to transform our minds. With regard to this transformation, it's definitely an ongoing process. Like, when we look at 2 Corinthians 5:17, which we already talked about, it says, "Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. The old is gone, the new has come." And the amazing thing about this is that there's a very big misconception that we think it's done. You know, we accept Christ and we're done. We don't have to work it. God will just transform us. No. That's not how it works with God, man. That's definitely not what He wants for our lives. And I really feel that to be transformed, I'm going to give you guys like 2 steps to do it. You need to step out of your comfort zone and you need to surrender. And those things are definitely not counterproductive. They work for the same goal. I know stepping out of your comfort zone is mainly seen as an act of boldness. And yes, it takes boldness and bravery to do that. But the essential, true definition of what stepping out of your comfort zone is, you come into a place where you're uneasy, uncomfortable, and may even be possibly feeling weak to be in that place. But the most important thing you know is that you're vulnerable there. And when you're vulnerable in that place, you know that God can work you. The spiritual sacrifices are what? A broken and contrite heart. When you come to a place of brokenness and vulnerability, God can work you, and that's at the point where you surrender. And I feel like our society and individuals, our hearts, the way we work, the way we've been wired to work is that we just can't surrender things. We have to be so in control of everything that we can't surrender it. Romans 12 tells us that living as a sacrifice to God is a spiritual act of worship. God did this because He created us to worship Him because we wanted to worship Him, not because He was telling them. He could tell anyone to worship Him. But we must essentially come to a place where we can decide to be a living sacrifice to God because we want to serve Him. And I'm talking to you today. I don't know what you're holding on to. Maybe you're holding on to a relationship. Maybe you're holding on to your money. Maybe you're holding on to your popularity. Maybe you're holding on to your status. Maybe you're holding on to sexual sins. Maybe you're just holding on to that old life you lived in general. You will not proceed in your spiritual walk if you continue to hold on to those things. You need to lay them at the feet of Jesus. It's amazing how we say we want this and we want that. We want to be transformed, but we refuse to just actively pursue it. And the way we do it is by surrendering things to God. So I want to encourage you today to do that. Lay it down at the feet of Jesus. Because He can restore you and heal you in ways you couldn't even imagine. I heard this one story on a movie, actually. It was a beautiful picture of what I'm trying to express today. They said that they were in the middle of a drought and there were 2 farmers who were praying for rain. But only one farmer went out to prepare his fields. And the question is, who do you think was the one who received rain? It's easy to pray for things, but if we don't actively believe and pursue those things and put our faith into God that He'll do that and start working at that transformation or start working at preparing our fields, how far can we go? Having an active and beautiful relationship with God is the most amazing thing you can have. It might be hard at times, but I believe that God is calling each and every one of us to actively pursue Him, to be strong in our faith and be weak in our flesh, surrender the things to Him. We at EastaynZ Music are just here trying to continue to encourage you guys to walk right, to live by faith and not by sight. And we'll continue to put out material to just encourage you in your walk. This is just a dream song. I was dirty, now I get my clean on. And I'm just trying to express the passion in my chest. Having visions of His face and it feels real. According to His measure, we face the Lord's will.
Yeah, and this is not no Shutter Island. I'm sitting on his wings. You catch your